Upstairs at Froelich, Show 203, Reel 1.
Now listen up, Mr. Pink. There's two ways you can go on this job. My way or the highway. Now what's it gonna be, Mr. Pink?
Jesus Christ, Joe. Fucking forget about it.
These drunk redneck truckers are trying to have their way with me!
Not while my scrotum is pressed up against my stomach in these jeans, they won't. Roadhouse.
Welcome to Upstairs at Froelich, everybody. Hope you all having a Merry Christmas and a potentially Happy New Year, and we are going to kick it off with a Patrick Swayze Christmas, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, it is a Patrick Swayze Christmas. I hope everybody is going to have one without getting beaten up or something, or having somebody fly through the air and do a cartwheel kick at you, or you getting shot in the fucking chest with a crossbow.
You know, can I just say before we start this off, you know, I thought you'd be bigger.
I thought you'd be bigger, too.
I know.
Okay.
You know, that's what we always say about the kind of work that we do, because, you know, the podcasting that we do, we think we'd be bigger than we are, you know.
Yeah, you would think that if you were Anthony Zerbe or, who's the other dude? Andreas Katsoulas. So today we are doing, Merry Christmas to everybody, of course, everybody listening to this. This is a special emergency Christmas episode, I guess, because, you know, I just thought, I'm going to do this. It's the second week of December. It'll take me a couple of days, and then I can just roll this out as a kind of a sneak preview of our second season. And we already have 2 episodes in the can, which you're not going to hear until January. So you're going to have to listen to us talk wax rhapsodic about the great Patrick Swayze. And I have to say, my wife tells me that I have a man crush on Patrick Swayze, because I just would not shut the fuck up about Patrick Swayze the last 4 or 5 days, because I'm watching these movies and I'm saying, my God, these are entertaining. And he was really entertaining. I mean, he wasn't like Shakespeare, he wasn't like Olivier, I should say, or Michael Caine or Gene Hackman or Anthony Hopkins, but he was a very entertaining person, and he appeared in a bunch of entertaining movies, and sometimes they were better for him being in them.
Exactly. I don't think Steel Dawn would have been utter crap without him in it. Next of Kin could have been a good Steven Seagal vehicle.
Next of Kin is a movie that we talked about this earlier. It had the mark of like a Rowdy Harrington or an Andrew Davis on it, but it was directed by John Irvin, who I don't really, I know the name. I know he directed some stuff.
Lock Up and Out for Justice.
Right, and which is a Seagal movie right there. So, I mean, it's quite conceivable that Next of Kin could have been a Steven Seagal movie. But the thing about it is, Steven Seagal, as entertaining as he is, he lacks that kind of charisma that Patrick Swayze had. Patrick Swayze was a very physical actor, and he did a lot of martial arts stuff too. But he's just such a, I don't know, with a staunch record of heterosexuality behind me, he's a damn fine-looking guy.
How dare you!
And he was a good everyman actor. You know, it's like...
Well, he had the everyman quality.
Every part was suited for him, you know? And he never I will say this. The movies, he may have done a lot. He may have done some bad movies, but he was never bad in them.
Yeah. And he was in like more than a few movies. I mean, you might have problems trying to describe Patrick Swayze movies to certain people, but then when you start bringing up the titles, they'll be like, a lot of people will be like, oh yeah, he was in that, I forgot. So there was a lot, I mean, Ghost, everyone has seen Ghost. Most people have seen Dirty Dancing. I'm not too sure about To Wong Fu, Thanks for Everything, Julie Newmar, but that movie was kind of a joke anyway, because they had these 3 guys in it playing drag queens, and it was silly because... But for me, it goes along with the idea that drag queens are kind of silly anyway, because they're very manly guys who dress up. I remember I saw a drag queen once on the Metro North going down to New York City on the train, and it was a big, bald, muscular, virile man wearing a pink dress and smelling like he had, fallen into a vat of Tommy Girl. It was like the weirdest thing. So it makes sense that you're going to have a character like Patrick Swayze playing a drag queen in a ridiculous movie. He was also, let's not forget, he was in Donnie Darko too.
Exactly, one of my top 10 favorite movies. And a great role, such a great role. I got introduced through Ghost because my parents rented that back in the 90s, and then my aunt showed me Roadhouse. And after Roadhouse, I was hooked.
Do you think it's possible that Swayze is sort of an unofficial member of the Brat Pack because he appeared in movies like The Outsiders and Red Dawn?
Yeah, I think he is definitely an unofficial Brat Packer. Well, because there's another movie
because he never
a lot
appeared.
Of people
he never
about.
appeared in a John Hughes movie.
He did appear with Rob Lowe in Youngblood.
And Rob Lowe in The Outsiders. And Red Dawn had, like, you know, Charlie Sheen. It had Jennifer Grey. It had C. Thomas Howell in it. So
had everybody under the sun was in that movie, and it was. I mean, I love Red Dawn. I mean,
Red Dawn, yeah, actually, Red Dawn is a movie that I really enjoyed. And then I looked at reviews of it later, and they called it like a conservative wet dream or something because it was about us being invaded by communists and how a ragtag group of American teens form the Wolverines, and they go out and they slaughter and everything. But the thing is, I really liked it. I really liked the movie.
Funny enough, I didn't see that movie until I shit you not 12 years ago.
So
I know.
So the wall was down. The wall was down already, and you had seen it.
I mean, it was like I was hurt. I was recovering from a bad car accident, and I was watching AMC one night, and it came on, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is like the greatest movie ever."
Well, you're of a younger generation, so you weren't. I don't know if you were really exposed to all that fear of Russian invasion, communism, nuclear stockpiling, the war between Reagan and Brezhnev, the Cold War, and all that stuff.
No, I wasn't even around. I mean, I was around for it, but not.
Well, you were probably still in diapers.
Pretty much, yes.
Yeah, when the wall came down, which was '89 or something like that. So tonight we're looking at Steel Dawn from 1987, which he made actually right after Dirty Dancing.
I want to say he made that before. It came out after Dirty Dancing, but I think it was made.
You think? I mean, it was released. Maybe he might have shot it before Dirty Dancing, and then Dirty Dancing became a huge hit. So they were like, "Oh shit, we still have this movie here, and Swayze's in it. Let's release it."
I did a little research on Steel Dawn for this episode. Believe me, it was a time crunch. I guess this is what I'm coming up with. We talked about Vestron and how, you know, Vestron Pictures got started because Dirty Dancing was such a huge hit, and all of a sudden, right, you know, they were left with a bankroll. I personally think this movie was shot sometime in '86, but it was shelved. But Vestron needed movies to come out to the theater, so I think they picked this movie up because obviously it had Swayze's name attached to it.
Yeah.
And they just released it to theaters, and it was a bomb because even though the movie only cost like $3.5 million to make, it only made less than $400,000 at the box office.
Probably they didn't even put it in that many theaters.
I mean, it didn't. I guess at the end, it didn't cost them any money. I mean, maybe it cost them a little bit of money to buy the rights to it, and then they just made a quick buck and made their money back on home video.
Or, you know, I mean, it was like, I think it was a multi-national production because it was shot in Africa with European money, so they probably it might have been released in Europe before it was released here in the States.
It was kind of like how we talked about when we did the Clive Barker episode. You know how Rawhead Rex and what's the other one? Transmutations.
Yeah.
Were both done in Europe, but then Empire Pictures picked them up to distribute over here.
Yeah. Same
exact situation. It was filmed in South Africa with European money. Vestron just picked it up and released it over here.
And this was Swayze's first action film. This was the first in a long line of movies that he would do for about 15 years, where he would be doing these. He did these action movies. Relatively lower budgets.
We have to say first action film as a leading man.
Yeah, selling it as that with the beard too. And I gotta say, do you prefer the beard? Because I like the beard.
It doesn't. I could take it or leave it.
I think he's got a very strong jaw, but I think the beard really. It's kind of like when Riker grew a beard. You know, he just looks a hell of a lot more manly because he looks kind of like he looks too young, shaved. You know.
Right. I mean, it does give him, I guess in this movie, the beard works because it makes him older than he is for the role that he's playing.
I gotta say, when I watched this, I mean, like, I didn't think much of it when I first saw it, I think on cable a long time ago. But then watching it again, it was sort of like a reverse Meridian, if you will. It's like the movie got better upon subsequent viewing, whereas Meridian got far worse.
I'm going to say this. I'm going to preface this by just saying 5 simple words. The Road Warrior was better. Mm-hmm. Okay. That aside, It had a lot of things I liked, even though the movie was very derivative. I mean, obviously, it was Mad Max meets Shane.
Yeah. I was thinking Shane, and I was also thinking Clint Eastwood, because it has all the typical beats of a Clint Eastwood movie from those days, where you have a mysterious guy, he beats the shit out of a bunch of people, then they beat the shit out of him. Everybody thinks he's dead for a little while, and then he resurrects himself and comes and saves the day. That's pretty much a Clint Eastwood movie. And Shane was about a guy who just sort of rolls into town, protects this family. I don't know if he gets sexy with a woman or anything, but and there's a kid, and he always Clint Howard at the end of Shane goes, "Come back, Shane, come back." And I was saying that when I was watching the end of Steel Dawn, I was like, "Come back, Shane," and he's like, "I gotta go. I'm gonna go, and I'm gonna go make love to another woman in another town. Bye."
And it's like, I promise, when the time is right, I'll be back.
Yeah, that's what it is. We're looking at a post-apocalyptic future, someplace in sandy territory. He's like some kind of kung fu martial artist kind of guy. He his friend, the old Asian man, is killed by this dude with heavy metal hair. He winds up in this kind of shanty town that's being set up by this woman with blonde hair, and the great what's his name?
Brian James.
Brian James is there, who is like, he looks like a guy you don't want to fuck with, but everybody fucks with him for some reason. I don't understand. He looks like the scariest motherfucker in the universe, and I've seen him in so many things. He has never played like some kind of timid guy, you know?
Never. Apparently his backstory is he's a washed-up soldier or something like that. And Patrick Swayze's character is supposed to be a soldier. And then the Chinese guy at the beginning of the movie, he's a soldier.
Yeah,
he's actually the protector that's supposed to be coming down there to help protect the town from the fucking bad guys.
Yeah,
from
yeah.
Anthony Zerbe.
The bad guys are led by Anthony Zerbe, who just wants power. He's just like another one of these bad guys who just wants power, and it really doesn't. He doesn't seem to have fleshed out his plan completely. You know.
He wants water though too. You don't forget. Like
they all want water,
like the big
and
thing.
Yeah, and the blonde girl knows where there's a water spring, and there's plenty of water and everything, and they want to figure out where it is, and they even try to bribe Swayze, like, "We'll make you one of ours." You know, Swayze has a past, and it is very Mad Maxy, but it's so fun. The movie is so much fun. I mean, it's very much a popcorn movie.
It is. It's a straight popcorn movie. I mean, it's what you expect. It's derivative of other source material, but at the same time, it's elevated because you have three good actors. Now, Lisa Niemi, that was Patrick Swayze's wife, playing the hot blonde.
That's right. Yeah.
The less I say about her, the better. She can't act. I'm sorry. She can't.
She's kind of pretty, though. I mean, I gotta give it.
She's kind. But you know what? Okay. This whole time I'm watching this movie, of course, this movie was made by the great Lance Hool, who made Missing in Action 2, The Beginning, which
and his kid played the kid in the movie.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now this had a Canon movie all over it. This was a movie done via the Canon School of Filmmaking. Bring it in on a short budget and hopefully it hits. The thing is, I could imagine Laurie Landon playing the part of the hot blonde, down to the hair.
Yeah, she's really bitter these days, though.
I know, but
no, the big problem.
Imagine her in that role. Imagine her.
I'll just poke a hole in your theory. There are too few gaps in continuity for it to be a canon movie. It kind of every scene flows into the next sort of gracefully, rather than Canon, who rips out 3 pages at a time.
Right. Well, that's also because Menachem and Yoram didn't get a chance to frickin' hack the fucker up in the editing room. Okay.
That too. But it's a very satisfying movie, I have to say, and it's just sort of like, I mean, like the only people that you can figure out. Patrick Swayze, obviously a name in this movie. Anthony Zerbe, kind of a name. Brian James is more of a name that we know.
Did you see one of the henchmen who popped up? Did you figure out who he was?
No.
The Mummy, Arnold Vosloo.
Arnold Vosloo is in this movie, yes, but he's another guy that you're like, oh yeah, he was in Darkman. He was in the Darkman sequels.
You put 2 and 2 together with this. You said the movie was filmed in South Africa. He's a South African actor.
Yeah. So,
and what sucks is he was fucking dubbed.
That's true.
He was totally dubbed. That was not his voice.
A couple of people were dubbed. You can't. I mean, you're not going to dub Swayze because he had very little dialogue in the movie, like he usually does, and you're not going to dub Zerbe because Zerbe has that great voice. So you're going to have to dub a lot of these people. You take like a bunch of production gear from America and you go to the southern most portion of Africa, and you shoot a movie, it's going to be with a lot of locals. Or they didn't dub Brian James though, which is cool. At least he was there and he was talking like this, you know.
You don't ever dub that man. Even when he did Nemesis, he pulled off this great Australian accent, which was fucking amazing.
Well, if you ever dared, he'd probably find you in post-production and kill you or something.
Exactly. Like they do. If you'd listed top 3 people in their lifetime who I would never fuck with, Brian James is one of them, because that man looks like he would fucking chew you up and spit you out.
Well, it was a good movie it was very minimalist, obviously, because they had a low budget. They didn't go for cheesy visual effects. I'm really glad they didn't. Actually, a lot of everything you see right there is practical that's happening, and it looks like some thought was put into it, you know?
It looks just like it was a tasteful knockoff of a Mad Max film. It was tasteful.
It was tasteful. Absolutely.
But what's funny is there is some Mad Max DNA, because you know Brian May, who did the music for The Road Warrior, he did the music for this movie.
Not the guitarist from Queen. It was just a different Brian May, an Australian
different Brian May.
I don't know if this is on Blu-ray, is it?
It is in Germany, and it's region free.
Yeah, but why does it have to be in Germany? Why can't they release this stuff over here? I got to go to Amazon.
No. There's a reason for that, because Lionsgate is sitting on the rights to it, and they're not going to do shit with it. That's why. Wow. This movie could easily be one of the Vestron collector series titles, you know, out of like the 17 or some odd Blu-rays they put out. And here's what gets me. An HD master exists, okay? All you have to do is do a copy paste job, get a couple of interviews with Lance Hool, you know, couple of the filmmakers, obviously Lisa Niemi, and then just slap together a quick fucking Blu-ray, put it on sale for $25 and make a few copies, make some money.
I bet you it would look really good, because I remember when I saw it on cable, again, just like Meridian, it looked really, really good on cable. But the copy of it that I looked at did not look that great. I mean, it was like widescreen and everything, but it hadn't been cleaned up significantly. You could make a nice copy of this. All right, before we launch into Next of Kin, I got to do a shout-out. I want to do a shout-out to the place that I'm writing for. I put out an article on Forbidden Planet. It became an enormous hit. I wrote this article about Forbidden Planet. And I want to shout out to Jeff Andrews and Second Union. All you have to do is go to wearesecondunion.com, and you'll see all of my brilliant writing. You don't have to read anything else. Just read my stuff, man.
Of course.
What else did we have to do?
Well, we also don't forget anybody who listens. We're now at the halfway point of the episode. If you like what you hear, like and share. Share any group that you want.
Totally
and share.
Forgot. I keep forgetting about liking and sharing. Everybody, like and share for Christmas. Sharing is caring. And again,
if you like what you hear, hit the subscribe button.
Hit the subscribe button. Hit it. If you have one of those touch screens, go up there and kiss it. Whatever you have to do, go ahead and subscribe, because movies don't come cheap. And if you want to hear us make smart-ass remarks about them, you know. All right, so Jingle Bell Rocking 2. How do you like my segue? Next of Kin, probably the more famous, definitely the more famous, the more notable of the two movies that we're talking about. This one was made in 1989, right after Roadhouse, on the heels of Roadhouse, because Roadhouse was a marginal hit. It made its money back. It made a little bit more, but then it really garnered a lot of cult status toward the end of the 90s, and has now become an incredible classic to such a degree that Family Guy devoted almost an entire episode to Roadhouse.
Dude, you want to talk about that movie being a classic? You get the Blu-ray, and Kevin Smith and Scott Mosier do a fucking commentary track.
Yeah.
Okay?
They actually, you know, the thing about it is Kevin Smith does commentaries for shit. Most of the time he releases them on YouTube. They actually took his commentary and put it on a Blu-ray.
Yes.
That's, you know, and you know, Roadhouse is fun. I need to go back and re-explore that. I saw that a long time ago. But Next of Kin, goddamn did I enjoy this movie. I enjoyed this as much or more than Steel Dawn, because it had such a great fucking cast. It's amazing, this cast.
I know, man. It's like, you look at this, most people back then would think of this movie as nothing special. This is like 30 years ago.
It's just Patrick Swayze beating the shit out of people again.
Right.
And that's what they did. I mean, you have Ted Levine in the movie right before Silence of the Lambs. He's at the beginning of the movie, just to kind of like give us a little backstory on Patrick Swayze's character, because he plays basically a redneck cop. He's from Appalachia, you know, Kentucky. He's come to Chicago. He's a Chicago police now, except he's not. He's like, you know, I'm just a country boy and I'm a cop, and he's busting Ted Levine, and then his brother, played by Bill Paxton, comes up and he's like, he gets a job as a trucker. They get shut down by the mafia. Adam Baldwin is like Andreas Katsoulis's right-hand man until he brings his son in, played by Ben Stiller, for fuck's sake.
Which is kind of funny because you have a Jewish kid playing an Italian. That's kind of
yeah, but Andreas Katsoulis is Greek playing an Italian, and Adam Baldwin, we don't know what he is, but they all go around going like this. Hey, what the fuck? What the fuck are you doing over here, Vinny?
Oh wow!
You're getting blood into my spaghetti sauce.
You make a Chicagoan sound so bad.
No, I'm just doing your garden
Typical,
variety Italian mobster.
Your stereotypical.
I'm not like,
Chicago
hey, what are you doing
mafioso.
with my deep dish pizza over here? What are you doing over here, huh?
I'd rather take thin crust New York style.
Thin crust New York? I prefer the Brooklyn fold. So Adam Baldwin basically they jack his truck, even though there doesn't seem to be anything in the back. And they kill Bill Paxton, but Bill Paxton's driving mate runs off. So he's a witness, and he's in hiding. He's a black dude, and he hangs out in the black sector of Chicago, or wherever that is. South Side, I guess? South Side of Chicago?
Yeah, South Side Chicago, definitely.
In there, you see my cousin Jack. You tell him you my boy and that you lost, because you don't want to know from me, man, because I'm from the South Side of Chicago, here on vacation. Anyway, so he's in hiding, Patrick Swayze, and his brother, played by Liam Neeson. I'm not sure, is Liam Neeson his older brother?
Older brother, definitely.
Okay, because I figured the difference in their ages anyway, because he is older. So Liam Neeson is Briar Gates. He's got the patch of land, and he lives on it, and he lives in a trailer, and he's got a crossbow, and we see a crossbow in the shot, and I know when I see the crossbow, when they're talking, that crossbow is going to be used. That's like Chekhov's gun. It's going to go off in the third act.
Of course. But then the whole time I was hoping I hear Liam Neeson saying, "Let's go rustle us up some kettles."
Let's go, Russell. Yeah, Liam Neeson, who would win an Oscar and
no, nominated. He never won an Oscar, sir.
Oh no, he didn't win for Schindler's.
Nope.
Who won in '93?
93? Tom Hanks, Philadelphia.
Oh, fuck me, that's right. Okay, well, Liam Neeson, anyway, respected actor. He did this accent for this movie that's a little bit over the top. It's just a little bit, I don't know what I'm doing. You know, sometimes you can hear him trying to cover over his brogue a little bit. And he does it again in Nell, where he's playing opposite his wife, Natasha Richardson, and Jodie Foster, and he's doing a Tennessee kind of doctor accent. And he does a little bit better with it. But here he's a little bit, he's laying it on a little thick. You know, he's kind of like what we were talking about Brad Dourif in Heaven's Gate, you know?
Yeah, well, he lays that Appalachian drawl on very, very thick.
But
I've never been to Appalachia, but they don't all talk like that.
They don't all talk like that. You know, I'd say probably the more accurate of the accent was Bill Paxton.
Of course, but he's a good old boy anyway.
Bill Paxton's dead, and Liam Neeson, being an old boy, wants to strike up a mountain feud, they call it. You know, if you take your brother's life, your next of kin get revenge on you. But Patrick Swayze is a good guy, and he doesn't want him to do that. He's like, no, we're going to do this fair and square. We're going to arrest him. We're going to find evidence. You know, we're going to do it all on the up and up. But he wants to get up there, and he's pissed off. So, I forgot to mention, Patrick Swayze is married to Helen Hunt.
Yes.
This is Helen Hunt. Before she became famous, I mean, like big Helen Hunt, like as good as it gets Helen Hunt. This was Helen Hunt of Trancers fame, you know, that kind of Helen Hunt. Or what was that? What was that other one? She did a movie.
Girls Just Want to Have Fun.
Oh yeah, she was in Girls, but she was also in something about a quarterback princess. It was some kind of made-for-TV kids movie that she was in, but she was in a lot of stuff. She was also in an ABC after-school special about heroin or meth use, and she winds up crashing out the window because she's so fucked up.
But while we're also talking about Liam Neeson, we also can't forget to talk about the late, great Michael J. Pollard.
Who is in this movie. Michael J. Pollard died. Michael J. Pollard, was the first of a series of Star Trek-related deaths that has occurred. People are dropping like flies this year, right at the end of the year. Have you ever noticed that? That like all of these celebrities wind up dying at the end of the year. It's weird, isn't it?
Well, this is now Monday, December 9th. December 8th, we had 4 people drop that day.
Oh, and I neglect to mention that Andreas Katsoulis, who is in this movie playing the mob boss, and everybody keeps calling him Papa John, and I keep waiting for a pizza to show up. But he was also on Star Trek Next Generation, playing the Romulan sub-commander Tomalak. In addition, he was the one-armed man in The Fugitive, directed by Andy Davis.
Yep.
So now, I mean, we have this conflict where Patrick Swayze has to be the good cop trying to protect the mobsters, even though he knows they're guilty of sin, from his brother who has gone up secretly to Chicago, rented a room with Michael J. Pollard at his shabby flop house or whatever it is, and hides his guns under the floorboards of his house, of his room, and he goes in and starts fucking wreaking havoc with the mafia. So it becomes this war between rednecks and the mafia. It's fantastic. There's a lot of great conflict in this, and it's very dramatic, right?
It is.
Then they figure out Patrick Swayze has to get to the black kid who was driving the truck with Bill Paxton. So they wind up in the south side of Chicago, I guess, and they're hanging out in this bar with a bunch of black guys, right? It's just so fantastic how you have this conglomeration of different cultures all coming together in Chicago. And I gotta wonder, I mean, like the way the kind of treatment it's given is very serious and respectful, but it didn't go overboard. There's a lot here that you could really like about this movie, even in 2019.
What's funny about this movie is
over 30 years ago, I might add.
I don't think it would have gotten as much notoriety as it did if not for the advent of DVD. The reason I say that is because this was one of the very first DVD releases that ever came out, and it was also one of the first budget titles that ever came out. So
was it one of the Warner Brothers DVDs?
Yes, it was one of the old Warner Snapper case titles.
It was in the Snap case. So
case.
So it was probably heavy too, because I have one of those. I have a few old Warner Brothers DVDs, and they were a lot heavier than they are now.
Oh yeah, because that was before eco-friendliness. You use the thick plastic and the thick cardboard. I still have a copy of Joe's Apartment. It's one of the first DVDs ever released, and I bought that brand new, and I still have it to this very day because I love that movie to death. Different episode, but anyway.
Well, we're gonna have to find a Jerry O'Connell movie to pit that up against.
When DVD players finally started hitting $200-$300 and everybody was getting them, you had to buy a couple of budget movies, and the one you knew you could buy was Next of Kin because it was a good movie and it was a budget title.
You know what? I think you're right, because I remember the first DVD player we got was a wedding gift. When I was married in 2000, my friend Scott bought me a DVD player. It was a Toshiba, and it came with a coupon book. Because you bought it, you can choose 5 movies, and I think one of those 5 movies was Next of Kin.
I got a GE in 1999, right around Christmas time. I was a bad kid in school. I smoked cigarettes,
Wait a minute. GE made DVD players?
Dude, this was way back when. This was way back.
What was the quality of the?
Dude, it wasn't GE. It was made by Thomson Consumer Electronics, same company that owned RCA. So even though you were buying a GE, it was still an RCA DVD.
So it had the guts of an RCA inside it.
Yeah, it did. It was a $200 DVD player. All it had was composite out on it, but you know what? It got me through a lot of rough times. Like, I had that thing for about 3 years before I upgraded it. But you know what? When you bought it, you got the 5 free movies, Yeah. I ended up getting like 6
as an incentive. They want to hook you, basically.
Yeah, because Laserdisc was still around. They were trying to kill VHS, But I remember before I did send away for the 5 free ones, but I had like an extra $50, and I was like, because I was saying I had saved all my cigarette money. I quit smoking. I saved all my cigarette money. And they are true when they say when you quit smoking, you get extra money.
Oh, yeah.
Because
definitely.
within like a matter of weeks, I had enough money to buy a DVD player.
Yeah.
I had like an extra $50. I went to the local Kmart and I bought Austin Powers, Spy Who Shagged Me. I bought Next to Kin, With Honors, and Caddyshack 2.
This was an extremely fun movie to watch.
Oh, God, it was.
I had to, what was I doing at the time? I might have been putting turkey away, cleaning the kitchen or something. I had it on my computer. I was just watching it and loving it. And it was so weird to see Ben Stiller. This is right before Ben Stiller became a director. Well, he had a show too, right? The Ben Stiller show. It didn't last very long, but it launched a whole new generation of writers.
Oh yeah, because it was
for good or ill.
Yeah, anybody who's like big into comedy today, they all worked on that show.
Yeah. People like Judd Apatow, things like that. So what Adam Baldwin comes up with this plan. Adam Baldwin is just the evil guy. For some reason, there's a mixed morality here, because you have Andreas Katsulas playing the mob boss, but the really evil guy, Andreas Katsulas is a character right out of Godfather, because when Patrick Swayze goes to interview him for the first time, he's in the back of this club making spaghetti sauce in a big pot, just like in The Godfather,
Exactly. And it's funny because he acts like one of those old school mafiosos, as to where it's like he's not about the drugs or anything like that. He's just all about, hey, I just want to steal shit and resell it for a fucking low price and make the profit.
Yeah, he's like Vito or even maybe like Michael Corleone. He wants to go legit.
But then the whole point is he has this right-hand man who's just this gigantic fucking loose cannon.
Yeah, Adam Baldwin, who's like one of the more frightening people. He's like right up there with Brian Thompson as far as just fucking scary as all hell. And he's like his right-hand man. He comes up with this plan because they get to Ben Stiller and they want him to turn state's evidence against this mob family. So Adam Baldwin just basically, they go into, they find out where Liam Neeson is staying. They grab one of his guns, and then Adam Baldwin fucking kills Ben Stiller and places the gun at the crime scene to make it, it obviously looks like a setup. It looks like Liam Neeson did it, so that they'll arrest Neeson, get him out of the way or something like that. And then they'll just have to deal with Patrick Swayze. Liam Neeson gets in there. He does manage to blow a few people away, but he gets killed in the process. And now Patrick Swayze has no brothers, and then we have to hear a country song about brothers. You know, you're my brother, I love you. You know, all that stuff. We're brothers and we died. You know.
I will say that the end, like, with Steel Dawn,
the graveyard ending. Oh, the graveyard ending is awesome.
Graveyard ending is fucking outstanding. That
because
was like,
you know, you're expecting crossbows, but you're not expecting tomahawks.
Now that right there is redneck justice.
Yeah. Texas style with barbecue sauce on top. Well, actually, Kentucky style.
How dare you?
Patrick Swayze was one of them. He was just a great guy. His movies weren't that great, but the performances he gave in them were great, no matter what the part was. There was this great little movie that he did that a buddy of mine showed me. And if you haven't seen it, I suggest you and everyone else look it up. I believe it's called 1114.
1114, let's see.
It's one of those movies to where it's like an anthology style movie, or it's kind of like Magnolia, where like all these people's lives intertwine at the time 1114 and all this weird shit happens around that time. Patrick Swayze's in this. He gives a dynamite performance in the role. Yes.
2003, independent black comedy written and directed by Greg Marks, starring an ensemble cast including Rachel Lee Cook. She was hot. I remember her. Ben Foster, Clark Gregg, Colin Hanks, Tom Hanks' brother, or son. Sean Hatosy, Barbara Hershey, Stark Sands, Hilary Swank before she became famous.
Actually, she already became famous. Here's what happened. She had already won the Oscar for Boys Don't Cry, but she was having kind of a slump. Like, she really wasn't getting juicy roles, so she was still doing independent stuff.
Well, it's really hard to get good roles after Boys Don't Cry when you're playing a character that's a sort of a transgender type person, or at least back then it was. I don't know about these days. But she was also one of the producers on this movie, too.
Because then right after that, she did $1 Million Baby.
Yeah, $1 Million Baby. Did she get an Oscar for that, too?
Yes, she did. She won 2 Oscars.
She's got 2 Oscars. Hilary Swank has 2 Oscars. I'd love to leave you with that thought. Hilary Swank has 2 Oscars. Anyway.
How dare you?
But yeah, I mean, anybody out there, if you've never seen 1114, do yourself a favor. That is honestly one of the last great Patrick Swayze movies that ever came out. He did a couple of other good ones, like Black Dog was a really good movie, even though it was generic. Meatloaf was in it. He was so over the top. It was a crazy movie. Another story for another time. I don't want to do it for this episode, but he was such a good actor. I love damn near every movie I've seen him in. You know, it sucked that he had to die when he did, because he had a lot of good roles. I mean,
the way his life ended happened very quickly, relatively, between December of 2007 and January of 2009, and then finally dying in September of that year, 2009. I mean, it's like we started getting these pictures of him, and he looked so horrible. I mean,
he looked so he was gaunt. He was so gaunt.
He looked horribly thin. He looked 80 years old, and it was just like, why? How did this happen?
Well, we now know why it happened. He smoked too much.
He smoked too much. He smoked a lot.
He smoked until the day he died. He didn't quit. Even when he got his cancer diagnosis, he still didn't quit.
You know, vaping was just starting to catch on.
Too. You'd figure. Me and you both vape. You know, we did it both to save ourselves. from cancer and from these
There
horrible
are still,
afflictions.
the funny thing about it is I'm still feeling the effects of smoking for, I don't know how many years that I smoked. 22 years, I want to say, maybe 94. Yeah. I started smoking in 94 and I quit in 2016. So that was 22 years. Sometimes I get a little shortness of breath, and I know why. It's because I smoked. And no matter what I do, I'm vaping. I mean, it hasn't gotten worse, but I'll always have that with me.
I mean, there is going to be there is that long-term damage. I mean, I do get winded sometimes, but I'll tell you this right now, I don't get as winded as I used to get.
Oh yeah. Me too. I can run. I mean, in the last 5 years that I was smoking before I quit, I couldn't run anymore. I really couldn't run anymore. I was completely out of breath.
On the final note that we say this, Patrick Swayze was a great guy, but don't go out the way he did. If you smoke, don't smoke. Make that your New Year's resolution as you listen to this Christmas episode. If you haven't quit. There are so many ways to save yourself, save your life. And vaping saved the both of us. It can save everyone else out there.
It really can. Don't listen to any of this bullshit. Stay away from disreputable products. Try to get good, well-made products. Stay away from the bad stuff. All right. I want to wish you a Merry Christmas, John.
Merry Christmas, David.
And Merry Christmas to your family and everybody. All our listeners out there, all 5 of you, I know who you are. Vinny, Jack, Dougie, Marie, and Peter. And I'm going to end this episode with a special tribute to Mr. Swayze, a Patrick Swayze Christmas from Mystery Science Theater. Good night.
Good night.
As you can see, that's a Starbucks coffee cup that I bought, and I'm making Starbucks K-Cups. Anyway, welcome to this installment of the video show, and this isn't a movie, but I figured I wanted some kind of a connection to not Roadhouse, Next of Kin, where Helen Hunt plays Patrick Swayze's pregnant wife. Now, I bought this about maybe 20 years ago, I would say. 20 years ago, it was a present for my girlfriend at the time, who became my wife. That's her hand there with the ring on it. And she's going to model this for us. Go ahead and pick that up and show us this is a cup that was designed by Helen Hunt for Bailey's as part of some kind of celebrity exchange program or something for some kind of charity. I don't know. They had a bunch of other cups that were designed. She has a big ear, doesn't she? And as you can see on the back there, it's signed by Helen Hunt. And this is for the Los Angeles Youth Network, whatever that is. Can we see that crazy face again? And yeah, she's a little bit gone, I'd say, this one here, probably because she's full of Baileys. But it came with the bottle and it came with the cup, and it's very interesting, right? Helen Hunt became a big star or something like that, I believe, after her work in Trancers with Tim Thomerson, and then she was on some TV show with the guy from Aliens. Anyway, thanks for watching and Merry Christmas.
Hit it, Cambot.
Oh, I start. I get it.
I'm sorry.
Okay, pick it up. Open up your heart and let the Patrick Swayze Christmas in.
We'll gather at the Roadhouse with our next of kin.
Not bad.
And Santa can be our regular Saturday night thing.
We'll decorate a bar stool and gather round and sing. Oh, let's have a Patrick Swayze Christmas this year.
Or we'll tear your throat out and kick you in the ear.
Hold it a second. Cambot, stop it. Crow, I don't know if I think this is an appropriate sentiment anymore for Christmas.
Hey, what, like a good action sequence don't belong at Christmas?
Well, no, it's just that I've never heard of an action sequence in a Christmas Carol before.
Yeah.
Well, then grab hold of your socks and read on, Joe Robinson.
Okay, pick it up from measure 20, Cambot. Lovely intro, though. Very tasteful.
Thank you.
I like that. It's my way or the highway this Christmas at my bar.
I'll have to smash your kneecaps if you bastards touch my car.
I got the word that Santa has been stealing from the till.
I think that right jolly old elf better make out his will. Oh, let's have a Patrick Swayze Christmas one and all. And this can be the haziest. Ooh. This can be the laziest. This can be the Swayziest Christmas of them. La 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 la.
How long before it becomes a standard?
I think you gotta come with me. Come on.
We'll be right back. Save a leg for me.